Michigan prayer book. In December of 2012, a group of us went to Israel, and we attended services at Hebrew Union College. At that time, the prayer book that we are using tonight was in its early stages of development, and we used it, and it was paperback because it hadn't even been hardbound yet. And the reading on page 125 was one of the readings that we did. And having traveled through that beautiful country during the week, this reading really struck home. And so please join me as you think over the last week of your life and think about where we are now as we start Shabbat. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasps of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. As we prepare to welcome Shabbat, we do so with the lighting of candles. I would like to ask the women of our congregation to please join us as we bring in Shabbat with light. If it is your custom to rise for the candle blessing, you may do so now. Page 120. Melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. You may be seated. And we prepare to welcome Shabbat as a groom welcomes a bride into the sanctuary. Dodi Lee, my beloved is mine, I am my beloved's. Page 129. Each time we sing, the song comes out slightly differently. Either our voices have changed a little bit, or the words come out a little differently, or maybe it's heard differently by one who listens. And so we sing together on page 131, Shiru Ladonai, sing unto God a new song, so that each time we elevate our melodies higher and higher.
Adonai,
as we prepare to welcome Shabbat like the bride entering the sanctuary, we do so with Lecha Dodi, a song, a poem created. Oh, first we're going to do Zamru Ladonai. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, we will turn to page 134. Gabby, thank you.
Zamru Ladonai bechinot, bechinot v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, harihu lifnei hamelech Adonai.
Now we turn to the poem by Shlomo Halevi Alkabetz from the 16th century in Sfat, a poem welcoming Shabbat as the bride. We will do verses 1, 2, 5, 6, and when we get to the 9th verse, we will rise and turn facing the door as if to welcome the bride of Shabbat. Page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela, shamar v'zachor v'dibor echad, yishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem letiferet ve'litida, lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechovenecha, ki mekol haberacha, merosh mikelev lezucha, sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tfila, lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki ba'orech kumi ori, uri uri, shir taberi, kevod Adonai alaych nikra, lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lo tevoshi ולא תיכלמי, מה תשתוכח
Now that we have welcomed Shabbat and the bride, you may turn to each other and welcome each other. If there's somebody whose name you don't know, please introduce yourself, become one with the congregation. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Eileen. Thank you. Please join us with Mizmor Shir, page 140. Sing a new song for Shabbat.
Mizmor Shir leyom haShabbat, tov lehodot Adonai, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, ulezamer leshimcha elyon, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בחינות, צדיק כתמר יפרח, כארץ בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו, עוד ינובון בשיבה, דשנים ורעננים יהיו, להגיד כי השם אדוני, צורי ולא הבלת בו.
Thinking how we started our service asking for Shabbat to abide among us and to leave the week behind, all that was both joyous and sorrowful. We approach the Baruch Hu, leaving the recognition of the beginning of Shabbat behind and entering the main service. So we rise for the Baruch Hu on page 146, a call to worship.
ברכו את אדוני
Be seated. We join together in the English at the bottom of page 148. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. And as each one of us struggles to define our relationship with God, we close our eyes. We think about the oneness of God, the oneness of humanity, the oneness of the universe. We affirm God's oneness with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Our Shema continues with the Ve'ahavta on page 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם נאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
All this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. We continue silently from page 156 to 157, preparing for the Michamocha. Wherever we go, say that there's no way to get there from you except joining us. Let's continue to work for the day when the nations will be one in peace. Shall we rejoice in Israel and singing on the shores of the sea?
Ya lai 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 V'ne'emar ki v'da Adonai et Yaakov u'ga'alo miyad chatzak mimenu. Baruch ata Adonai ga'al Yisrael.
On page 161 at the bottom, we can imagine the children of Israel having crossed the Sea of Reeds, now into the desert, a 40-mile trek to the Promised Land. This is something they may have thought to themselves. Let's read together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Hashkivenu, page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen.
Our prayer book contains more than 600 pages of words and prayers and readings and songs. And yet, sometimes it's the space between those words that have the most meaning for us. The children of Israel trekking through the desert, there were 600,000+ of them. And they, at times, must have felt like my grandchildren too, when they say, I need some alone time. And so we enter the Amidah, a time when we can think about the words on the page, or we can have alone time in a conversation with God and spend time with the white spaces between the words. We rise as we approach God and face the ark.
That my mouth may declare your praise.
add the words of the Misha Berach, the prayer for healing for those suffering from physical pain, those from emotional pain, pain of suffering, of addiction, and all other types of healing that is necessary. If there's someone whose name you'd like to mention, please bring their names into our sanctuary so that we can join you in wishing them a refuah shlema, a return to wholeness.
Iris Widler, Noah Eshman, Irene Gatas.
Rita Gordon. For those mentioned and those whose names we hold in our hearts, we sing together the Mishberach, asking God for a return to wholeness. Page 371. Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Rabbi Nico is on vacation this week and next, and so it's my pleasure to be leading services together with Gabby, Michael, and Elvin, and you, as we welcome Shabbat together. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, sang George Harrison. I bet you knew that one. Contemplate. This week's Torah portion, called Chukat, takes place during the last couple of years of wandering before the children of Israel entered the Promised Land. They have wandered for at least 38 years, with the majority of those who left Egypt no longer being alive. This new generation is used to being transitional, and yet they would love to experience a sense of permanence. A set of laws and ordinances are being presented along the way to prepare the people for life in a new land. They will need these guidelines for life amidst strangers, for survival as well as for strength. We begin this week's Parsha, Chukat, with the law of the red heifer. Judaism traditionally saw the ritual of the red heifer as the supreme example of a chok, or decree, that has no reason or logic other than the fact that it was commanded by God. One who is made impure by coming in contact with a human corpse must be cleansed by a paste including the ashes of the unblemished red heifer. You may be able to find one at the Orange County Fair that opens today. The Sedra then proceeds to a series of narratives set towards the end of the Israelites' 40 years of the desert. First, my ancestor Miriam dies. Then the people rebel because there was no water. A well had accompanied the Israelites on their journeys, said the sages, because of the merit of Miriam. When she died, the water ceased. Then Moses and Aaron lose their temper with the people, saying, "Listen now, you rebels. For this sin they are condemned not to enter the promised land." Aaron dies, and the people mourn. Moses too knows that his days are numbered. He will not live to cross to the sea, he will not cross into the promised land. He will die in sight of the land, but not with setting foot on it. Law and narrative seem to have no connection at all, but they do. More than any other passage in the wilderness years, Chukat is about mortality. We know from the story of the spies that we read 2 weeks ago that the people who left Egypt will not be destined to enter the land. A people born in slavery, says Maimonides, cannot create a free society. That task would fall to their children, born in liberty. But what about the 3 great leaders, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam? They were not guilty of the sin of the spies. They did not join in the people's revolt. Surely they would see the fulfillment of their mission. But it was not meant to be. That is the nature of mortality, an idea given its most famous expression by Rabbi Tarfon in the Mishnah. It is not for you to complete the task, but neither are you free to desist from it. The great tasks of humanity are too large to be completed in a single generation. The kind of leadership needed to lead the people out of slavery is not the same as that needed to induct them into freedom. Nor is any of us privileged to see the full fruits of our lives and the impact we make on the next generation. There is a world that will come after us that we will not live to see. That is the human condition, and Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, for all their greatness, were human. Nowhere else in the Torah is mortality more poignantly expressed. We feel little sympathy for Adam and Eve. They had only one commandment, and they blew it. Abraham and Isaac die in relative serenity. Jacob dies reunited with his son. Joseph dies in honor, a prince of Egypt. What hurts is the death of the 2 brothers and their sister, Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, their journey incomplete. That is why the narrative is preceded by the law of the red heifer, whose entire purpose is to purify those who have come into contact with death. Indeed, the whole passage exemplifies one of the axioms of Judaism, that God provides the cure before the disease. The symbolism of the red heifer is simple. The red heifer itself represents life in its most primal form. First, it is an animal, and an animal simply lives without reflecting on life. Secondly, it is red, symbolizing blood and the clay of the earth, which the Torah represents itself as life. Thirdly, it is an animal on which a yoke has not yet come. Its life has not been constrained by being domesticated or being used. This is life at its most vigorous and elemental state. The heifer is killed and burned and reduced to ash in the most dramatic possible enactment of death. The ashes are mixed with those of burnt cedar wood, hyssop, and crimson thread, part of the purification ritual of the Metzora or leper, also seen in Leviticus. Evidently, these 3 elements had a particular power, physical or symbolic, to absorb and thus remove impurity. They are then dissolved in what's called living water to be sprinkled over the person who has been contaminated by contact with or proximity to a human corpse. The phrase living water is an explicit metaphor. It's also used when we go to the mikveh. That must also be living water. Water is the source of all life, plant, animal, and human. In the desert, or more generally in the Middle East, you feel this with a particular vividness, especially during summer. Hence, it became the symbol of God. We now understand the symbolic significance of the fact that when Miriam died, the flow of water to the Israelites ceased. As long as she was alive, there was water. In other words, life. Her death marked the beginning of the end of the life of Moses' generation, and the sign of this was the drying up of the well that had served the people until then. We die, but life goes on. That is the symbolic statement of the red heifer rite. All that lives eventually turns to dust, and in the case of the red heifer, to ash. But life continues to flow like a never-ending stream. Significantly, the Hebrew word for inheritance, nachalah, is related to the word for a stream or spring, nahal. The water that was once here is gone. It has flowed to the sea, evaporated into cloud, and fallen again as rain. But the stream continues to flow in the same course, between the same banks. There is death, but there is also continuity. We are never privileged to complete the task, but others will take it on and move a little closer to fulfillment. So long as there is a covenant between the dead, the living, and those not yet born, mortality is redeemed from tragedy. The dead live on in us, as we will live on in our children or in those whose lives we touched. As dust dissolves in living water, so death dissolves in the stream of life itself. Far from being unintelligible, the law of the red heifer is a powerful statement about life and death, grief and consolation, the transient and the eternal. And far from being disconnected with the narrative that follows, is intimately related to it, and the two are commentaries on one another. Before we are exposed to the death of Miriam and Aaron and the decree of death against Moses, the Torah provides us with a profound metaphysical comfort. They died, but what they lived for did not die. The water ceased, but after an interval, it returned. We are destined to mourn the death of those close to us, but eventually we reconnect with life. The most significant feature of the structure of human reality is death. To be human is to be mortal. The law of the red heifer honors the fact of death. It does not try to deny it. Death is real. Grief is inevitable. Bereavement is the most painful of all human experiences. But God is to us as water is to the desert. The red heifer comforts us for the loss of Miriam, Aaron, and Moses, and for the existence of death itself. The touch of God, like the sprinkled drops of the water of purification, heals our loss and brings us back to life. Amen. We continue with the Aleinu, page 586. Please rise as the ark is opened.
Take your time, it's good. Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latekedu la leotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchelkenu kahem, vegod aleinu kemon hamonam, va'anachnu kodim u'mishtachavim
may be seated. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died in this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. If you are in the first 7 days of mourning, the Shiva period, please rise. If you are in the first 30 days of mourning, please rise and share with us your beloved's name. If you are in the first year of mourning, please rise. Eileen. My mother-in-law, Marie Van Ralt. If you're observing a yahrzeit this week, please share your beloved's name with us. If you would like to support the mourners, knowing that they will support you in their time, you may rise and join us on page 598 with the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei ve'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudisha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlomo Rabbah mimishmaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May their memories be for our blessing. Zichronam livracha. You may be seated. So Rabbi Nico is on a family vacation, and I saw a beautiful picture of the 3 munchkins today in Mexico. And so he will be gone this week and next. And then when he returns, we have a very special Shabbat celebration together with our neighboring congregation, Temple Beth Shalom. On your program, you will find information. It's also on the cover of your scroll. We will be at Temple Beth Shalom on Friday, July 26th at 6 o'clock p.m. The address is provided here. And Rabbi Nico, Gabby, Michael, Elvin too? No. And the prayer team from Temple Beth Shalom have been preparing, and it should be a wonderful, special Shabbat. I promise you there will be people there you know. And so what makes it special is for you to join us. So we hope that you will. It'll be earlier than our usual 6:30 celebration, so it'll be nice. And then they will be joining us here for Tisha B'Av, which is coming up in August. We will send you more information about that. I think there's a men's club meeting. There is a men's club meeting next Monday at 6 o'clock p.m. I think they're having a guest speaker, Dr. David Chapman, speaking about men's health. Oh, that applies to all, because we all have gastroenterological. We all have those systems. We all have, and at times we all have issues. So,
At times?
At times, yes. At times. Ha, ha, ha.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was not good. But please join us next Shabbat as well. We like to have a minyan at least, so that's nice. And thanks to our tefillah team tonight, and thanks to you for joining us. We continue our service with
Shalom Aleichem as we
Shalom
go
Aleichem.
into Kiddush
Kiddush.
and Motzi.
Lovely.
Shalom Alechem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon.
Please rise, join us.
Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malachim L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yai L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech
If you want to call it that.
Malachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzidchem L'Shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Doing Kiddush. Miriam's doing Kiddush. Thank you, Miriam, for volunteering. You're so great.
Thank you.
I could get to the page.
Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzav banu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tehila lemikrae kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshcha be'ahava uvratzon hinchatanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat l'chaim.
Apple juice.
Really?
Yeah, that's different. Cool.
Mine
Switch
tasted
it
like
up.
Passover.
Sadness.
Sure. You do it.
It's okay. We're good.
Poteach et yadecha umatzbiah lecho chai ratzon. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Shabbat
Shalom, everybody. Have some
shalom.
challah. Here's a challah. You get a challah.